Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sounds of the Hardwood podcast. In today's episode, we'll be doing our mid-season review. We'll be going over our biggest surprises, disappointments, title favorites, MVP favorite, and also going over the latest news, which is Harden's debut, the injury to Chris Paul, how it's going to affect the Suns long term, and the addition of CJ McCollum to the Pelicans and how that's going to affect them long term now that they've finally begun to play games for their new teams. So everybody's been doing today. How's your weekend been going?
Good.
Good.
Pretty good.
Catching
Not bad.
the Sixers game
Oh yeah, you should be
against the
excited.
Knicks is close.
I mean, the Knicks are inconsistent, so they do that sometimes. They have good games and sometimes they have bad games. But I figured I'd start off with the biggest disappointments because I mean, a lot of us have felt that this year. I felt that disappointing feeling. I mean, I might as well just go first because I think I got the biggest disappointment here at anybody's team. I think the Lakers have to be the biggest disappointment to go into the season to be one of the teams that were a championship favorite to now they're looking like they're fighting for their life just to be a playing team, let alone a championship contending team. The Russell move that did not work. I don't at this point. I don't know if it's a basketball reason why it's not working for him, or so it's a mental reason why it's not working, or
I could have told you that a long time ago.
cultural reason why it's not working. But there, something is not working for the Lakers. Anthony Davis can't seem to be staying healthy at any point in time, and the Lakers are just wasting an MVP caliber season for LeBron. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I would definitely say the Lakers have been my biggest disappointment.
If you had to look at it, what would you like besides Westbrook? What would you say has been the downfall for the Lakers, just from your perspective?
From my well, some there's like several things. I think one, I think they still play the same way they tried to play last year, like defensively, and they don't have the same defensive pieces anymore. So you really can't play how they played. With I know Vogel likes to double team and then like scramble out of doubles, and I mean you really can't do that with this older roster and with a lack of defensive ability. I don't think there's enough shooting on this team, especially if you're going to bring in Russell Westbrook. You had to keep some more perimeter shooting. They definitely don't have that. And then outside of the bench depth that they brought in, with none being hurt, you really don't have another backup point guard to go to help the fact that Russell is struggling. I thought Rondo should have got some more minutes when Russell started off to that bad start, and then he weren't playing none because he was hurt. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. I think they should have tried to keep Caldwell Pope, but they let him go in order to get Russell. I mean, Kuzma is Kuzma. He played the same way with the Lakers. It just fluctuates how consistent he's been. He's been more consistent with the Wizards than he was with the Lakers, but he has moments like that with the Lakers too. I mean, so there's a lot of things wrong with the Lakers, and I don't think it's going to fix in just one season. I think there's going to be a lot of decisions that have to be made in the offseason in terms of the roster, maybe even the coach, if they're going to try to fix the team moving forward. No, and anybody else want to go? We don't.
I mean, for me, Lakers were pretty obvious, but you know, I want to be different, so I'm gonna say Brooklyn. For the simple fact that we never saw the yeah, they played 16 games together, but I think we never saw the true potential of having Kyrie, Durant, and Harden for like a full season. And yeah, that Nets bench is kind of horrible. So that, you know, their biggest blessing was this trade in which they got another shooter in Curry. Ben Simmons is still a work in progress, and those draft picks. But when you have three superstar players, and you know you trade, you traded to get Harden, and given all these pieces that you gave up, it was something that it was for sure. Like, it was almost a sure thing that the Nets were going to probably be champions. That's not the case anymore. So and right now they kind of look like they're stuck in the play-in. So
That's shocking.
they were projected to be probably like the 1 or 2 seed. So Brooklyn Nets here.
Got you.
I'm gonna save the Knicks for Henry, because I'm sure that's probably who he's gonna want to go to. I'm going Indiana Pacers. because they get Rick Carlisle as their coach at the beginning of the year. People thought, okay, well, Carlisle is an experienced coach. You know, basically last year with Nate Bjorken, it was a down year, just coming in, being a new coach, and just kind of the way the roster was constructed. A lot of people thought that they would be able to make it work. Well, they're not good defensively. Right now, they're 26th in defensive rating, and offensively, they're not great either, 18th in the league. Obviously, they have had injuries. T.J. Warren doesn't seem like he's able to really get fully healthy. You know, Brogdon went down with injury, and then Miles Turner went down with injury. But then they make a trade, Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton. I feel like they're going to have to do more in the offseason unless you're really going to move T.J. Warren to the 4 and just kind of roll that way, because they're going to need shooting of Buddy Hield. They're going to need Chris Duarte. You know, but both of those guys have to more or less play on the wing, because you've got Brogdon, who's a good, you know, secondary playmaker, can play on the ball as well. But Halliburton's your prize that you've really got to develop and push forward as your franchise guy. I don't know. They just, I thought coming out of the trade they would have more of an impact winning, but it seems like it's kind of hit or miss. They're losing the close games. You know, the same way. And it's almost like, is Rick Carlisle getting through to these guys as a good voice or not? Like, I'm not sold on Carlisle as their long-term coach, because I feel like once you get to a certain point in coaching, you know, your style doesn't really change. So you just jump team to team. And a lot of players on Dallas didn't really vibe with his way of coaching. And I think it's translating over to Indiana, where, you know, he's not voiceless right now, but it's kind of like that extra effort that players would show for a coach that goes all out for their players isn't really there, because he's not a guy that really does that. So I'm really, you know, looking forward to seeing what Indiana makes moves wise in the offseason.
Okay. Gotcha.
Damn. I was gonna say Brooklyn, but Soto beat me to it. I'm not gonna say New York because Henry got it. Can't say the Lakers. Keem already did it. Not my team.
You can go Hawks.
That's where I was about to go. Yeah. So like you just mentioned, I'm gonna go with Atlanta, because based off that run they had last year, you would think they would come back, you know, maybe hungry, stronger. Maybe basically the way we see Phoenix right now. Phoenix lost in the finals. We know Atlanta didn't make it that far, but they got a taste of the playoffs and they got a taste of what it takes to have a good run. You would think somewhere and within that roster, within that team, within the coaching staff, like there would be more, I guess you could say, leadership, more hungriness, you know, wanting to get back to either maybe get a better seed or same seed, to get right back to where you were and try to make a deeper run. And I feel like they kind of got comfortable. Oh, yeah, we showed everybody what we can do. You know, we told you guys we're here, look at us. And then this year it comes, and it's like they were staying afloat, and now it's like, they're questionable now. Now it's like a few losses where freaking how close the East is, they could be out of the play-in tournament. They're 10th right now. I feel like them and Charlotte are in the same boat. That's another team I was thinking about too. Because with Charlotte, it's like they have a good bench, they have a good starting five. So even with injuries going on here and there, aka just Hayward, it's like you think they would be better. They had a hot start. Everybody was like, "Oh, watch out for Charlotte." And after that first month, which everybody knows, the first month everybody's on fire, everybody's shooting percentages are high, you know, skyrocketed. Every team's feeling good, and then once, you know, December hits, January hits, you start realizing, you know, the real contenders and the pretenders. And then here goes Charlotte again, looking at the play-in tournament. And it's just like both those teams are in the same boat. Like, you're like kind of waiting to see who can step up, a player, maybe freaking ownership by making a trade. Like, something has to give so that way you can get over that hump. And it just seems like both those franchises are just like, it's okay. We're okay where we are. You know, we'll see what we can do. And it's just like I expected something to go on with those two teams by before the deadline was over, but nothing happened.
Atlanta decided to stay pat and keep John Collins, and they could have made a big splash.
Yeah.
At least, if not Collins, and Gallinari could have got moved. Something to shake the team up, just to mix it a little bit.
That was going to bring me to a question before Henry went. I was going to say, because he mentioned both Charlotte and Atlanta, I was going to say, do you think in the case of Charlotte, it's just that they're young and they still don't know how to win yet and they're still learning? And do you think for Atlanta, it's just that they're really just a one-trick pony with Trae Young that teams have scouted for better this year?
Definitely yes for Atlanta. That's the perfect thing, that teams have scouted how to play Trae Young, and other guys aren't consistent enough. They haven't taken that elevated leap that it's like, all right, Herter showed flashes last year of being able to score in key moments when they needed it. Bogdanovich has made clutch shots in the past. Both of those guys have been inconsistent all year shooting the ball, which is what Atlanta needs. You got Trae Young. He can dish it all over the floor and get guys easy shots, and they just don't make them. They use the excuse of, well, Cam Reddish is gone. That was, kind of clogging up the rotation. And it's like, you still got the same problem. Guys can't make shots. DeAndre Hunter's your best defender, can't stay healthy. Was out for most of the year and hasn't looked incredibly great, coming back. Capella's, what he does, Okongwu can do. Like, give him another year and he's going to have the same rebounding prowess as Capella has. Like, he's just got to get more experience to get, more of the skill on the floor. But Charlotte, I don't know. I want to say they're young, but then you've got like LaMelo, who's played experienced basketball overseas. He's got to command like more of the team down the stretch of, hey guys, we need to either speed it up, slow it down, like manage the game a little bit better in the stretch. And then Hayward, before he got hurt, was supposed to be the leader of the team. He's not a vocal guy. Like, where is your vocal person coming from to pull the team together? And that's what they're missing, that experienced leader, even if it's not a guy that's a star, for the locker room to say, guys, look, this is adversity. We've got some injuries. We got to pull this together. And they don't really have that. And that's where I think they're lacking.
Yeah, to bounce off what you just said, you brought up Melo. I think a lot of people forget about Rozier. Like, he had playoff runs, really good playoff runs with Boston. And he had vets around him in Boston who he learned from. And it's like, you think he would take what he learned and maybe sprinkled some of that. I mean, it does seem like once Melo arrived, it seemed like Melo kind of took that whole franchise over and everybody kind of got drawn to him. So at the same time, you could still be a vet, what you are, and, be in their air on the bench before, after practice, during a shoot around, on the freaking bus, on the plane, who cares? But you have to, somebody, like you said, has to, even if it's Hayward, he's still around when they're hurt. When he's hurt, he's still there on the bench cheering them on. Like, someone has to be in their air, like, hey, this is that, usually that rough part of the season, which was right before All-Star break, which is when they started sliding a little bit. I would say the month of January, it's like, okay, this is that part where, you kind of see that halfway point, and then you kind of like struggle to get there. Nope, don't lose focus on, the goal. They have nobody to do things like that. As you see other teams, like some Boston, Smart came back in January. You could tell he's the leader. He's the one that's in the team's air, preaching defense, getting them to buy into Ime's freaking strategy. Finally, the defensive strategy to switch everything, hold yourself accountable. So it shows you, like, that one piece for these 2-3 teams we're talking about right now is key. And we might not even be talking about these teams right now if they were able to get that veteran in their locker room.
Gotcha. All right, Henry, are you going to shock us? No Nick talk?
Nah.
They're down by one right now.
I think for me, I guess it's probably, I'll just go to Ant-Man. Probably 2 teams. I'd probably say Portland, one, because they made all those moves, even though they traded them away. They just threw out money like it was nothing. They were touting getting some of those players as defensive players to sort of help with the perimeter. I know they had Norm Powell, and then they had Larry Nance. They said that was going to help shore up their defense. It just really didn't work out. And then the Pelicans, just with all the injuries this year, I mean, the CJ McCollum trade was a big trade for them, but not having probably Zion the rest of the year, we know he really doesn't want to play, excuse me, with the Pelicans. But I would have liked to have seen how that team would have been with all those pieces around, because I think that would have been a pretty interesting team with Zion, Brandon Ingram, McCollum, and then you have the rebounding beast in Valanciunas that could spread the floor better than Steven Adams did. So, I mean, you would probably have 4 pretty solid guys on your team. So, I mean, and then a decent bench. That would probably be their downfall. Their bench is a little,
Okay.
So I mean, for me, just the way they're playing this year, both of them. I know Portland been winning a couple games here and there, and I know Simons has been balling, but I think for me, it's probably those 2 teams that's my biggest disappointment.
Okay. To piggyback, because you said about the Pelicans with Zion being unhappy, if you said, because there have been rumors about the Trailblazers wanting to trade CJ and Dame pretty much all summer. Those rumors had started. So do you think if the Pelicans had made this deal to get McCollum in the offseason, and then they had came into the season with CJ McCollum, would that have changed Zion's maybe approach to how he's taken with the Pelicans?
No. Zion don't want to play with New Orleans. It's been stated since forever.
His mentality's set with that.
His mentality. Yeah, I agree with that. His mentality set with that. I think he wants
to watch.
He wants to play. That. He wants to play with a big market team. He wants to play with a different team. He's not, and they also just another thing to piggyback off what you said. It's been known around all circles, including Zion circle, that he does not and will not talk to Griffin at all, and does not like any of the moves he has made or anything he's done as a general manager or team president, I should say, whatever he is, whatever his role is.
Here's my thing with that. Who is in this boy's ear? This young man's ear.
I was just
about to move like this, because it's like you haven't done anything. You have no toes to stand on to be moving like this. Like you're a 10-year vet. Like you put the franchise on your back and went.
I think it's his grandfather. His grandfather, somebody, but
stepfather. I think wasn't it stepfather?
It might be.
I think it's his stepfather. Yeah,
So
his stepfather. And for me, it's just like to agree with Ant says. Yeah, like a lot of these young guys are just move. A lot of these young guys are just entitled now when it comes to basketball. Like, oh shit, I make millions of dollars a year. I can deal with whatever the hell I want.
And the report came out that like Zion doesn't trust Griffin. I just think that's an excuse.
Right.
Just
I agree.
Yeah. And it's like
he got mad because of the
was big.
Injury. The original injury he had in the timeline, like he was pissed off because he had to come back on a minutes limit. It's like, dude, like, what do you expect? Mm-hmm. You're 6'6", like 280 pounds when he came back the first time, and you're coming off a major injury. Of course they're going to take it slow. And he was mad because he's like, well, I hit all those threes in the first game back and got hot, and then they're going to sit me and like all this stuff. And I'm like, all right, dude, like I get it. But at the same time, if you can't stay healthy, you got to do your part to say, all right, well, it's not working. Either my lifestyle's got to change or my diet, whatever, like something.
Yeah, but he's playing himself out of shape right now, and that's the concerning part about it to me. Is like he thinks that he's going to do this to get a trade, like a la Ben Simmons, which we'll talk about probably later. But it's not going to happen because for me, and I'm just saying this as a fan of any team in general, obviously rumblings have been happening that he wants to play for the Knicks with his best friend RJ. If I was the Knicks, I would stay far away from him. I'm just being honest. Like, yeah, Zion's a great player when he plays and he does this stuff, but look what's going on with his weight. Look what's going on with his foot, his knees. Like, do you really want to have another albatross contract on your hands where you deal with a lot of stuff?
I wouldn't mind because it's the Knicks.
Yeah, but look at Amari. Look what happened with Amari, though.
Right,
he's had those injuries his whole career in Amari's side of his case. I think the problem with Zion is right. The weight thing. Yeah, if he needs to take better care of his body, absolutely he does. He needs to take better care of his body.
Is he going to lose the weight, or is he going to be another Robert?
But here's one thing
how
though.
Young Zion is. Like Zion is not like 23, 24, 25 years old. He's like 20, 21, 22.
Same thing happened to Amari though. Injuries like
he's still very young. No, I'm talking about like his decision making. His decision making. You got to remember, he's still a college age kid. He's not a grown man like us. That's going to be thinking like, okay, if I do this, this may not be the best decision in the world. All he sees is he looks at the situation with Anthony Davis. He gets a trade. He wins a championship.
Yeah, but
Drew Holiday gets a trade. He wins a championship.
But the problem is with the injury history he has and the way that who's going to take a trade.
Griffin does hold responsibility for him being upset because if I said to you my first year,
Sure.
you fire my head coach, who you set up for failure. You send him into the bubble without his best player. He set him up for failure. Then you fire him. You bring in another head coach who you set up for failure. Then you fire
No,
him.
he was just a failure to begin with. Like he wasn't set up for nothing.
No,
So-
but
he
but
he
that-
walked in.
But no, I'm saying like, but that team, you knew there was no way he was going to figure out how to make that team work.
So
Yeah,
No
even
shooting.
JJ Redick had
Like-
he was hesitant. Like, yeah.
Coach Norman
someone
Fisher made a
else
good
is-
point, and like you know how we talked about Ben Simmons having the mental health issues. He put his eating could be tied to his mental state, so he could be eating just basically to
Yeah.
basically
but
say,
I
And
kind of,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I
I
agree.
don't know.
I
don't
agree,
know.
but it's kind of similar to the James Harden situation. Like, I feel like if Zion, let's say, were to land with the Knicks, I feel like there's more motivation, and it's a fresh new start, and it's the start that he wanted.
Oh yeah.
So then
Yeah.
he could either
well,
like,
he'll be with his best friend. His best friend.
Yeah,
which is his best
basically
friend.
what Soto's saying is you can't really. He's
It
saying
would.
don't say you don't want to take him because
But
a fresh
if you-
start, change of scenery, change of coaching, change of ownership.
I
and
agree.
when fully healthy last year,
Yeah.
he was averaging
I-
27 points a
No,
game.
no, I
That
agree.
changes
Different
everything.
from the field.
I agree. but
Realistically,
Injuries are
who are the Pelicans going to take back that New York would want to give up? You're giving up
Randall.
probably Grimes. Yeah, they're not going to want. Why would you want Randall's contract back if you're New
Right,
Orleans?
because the Knicks,
With
the Knicks
CJ
are gonna
McCollum
the Knicks
there-
are gonna make it like a sign and trade. Where
No,
they sign
the
Zion.
Knicks'
McCollum
best
there, I
option
think
at
they could
Zion
take
is free
Randall.
agency.
That's
If
what
I
I
was
was
the
gonna say.
if
I
I
wouldn't
was the
give up anything.
Pelicans, I would take Randall with CJ there now
That's the only way I would take
because you
Zion.
need somebody along his
I wouldn't.
age that
And I
you
would
can play
have-
with him.
I would
Because
have
the
Zion
reality
heavily laden contract with injury protections for the Knicks or any team that signs him
I don't think
because the
honestly, I
future.
think he's
That's what
playing
happened in the
James Harden
past.
at this point. I honestly think that's what he's doing. I think he's
I
hurt,
agree.
but I don't think he's hurt to the extent where he can't step back on that basketball court.
And he's
Yeah,
sensitive
there's no
anyway.
motivation.
Like,
There's no motivation to do that.
Does anybody
His
know what his
personality
I like
is
James
sensitive.
Harden.
Anybody know what his current
Yeah,
weight? Well,
yeah,
yes. Now we got
exactly.
skinny. Now we got skinny Harden, but anybody really
He's
know
probably
his,
dropped
what
weight.
his weight is?
Zion's
when-
probably
when-
dropped weight.
During those
time,
final
like-
days with Brooklyn, James Harden's like, my hamstring. And then what? Like, once he got traded,
Both his
Bro.
debuts, he's had
hamstring
double doubles.
is-
He's had
Bro.
20-point double doubles both of his games.
He
Right.
running full speed. He just had a crazy. He just had a dunk. Like, bro, I
hitting
don't want to
step
hear
back
that.
threes and whatnot.
but
yeah, it's like
Again, that all comes down to, like, at the end of the day, the difference between the people we're naming compared to Zion is that they all went through rough patches. They all went through, being a rookie, being a second year, third year on okay teams or bad teams or just young teams. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't only be in the NBA for 2 years and then try to force your way out of a franchise.
You
Like
just
I'm
brought up a
saying,
good
you
point.
have
Okay.
and you have
Current
they can't
play-
even if they accept what you want and go, yeah, we're gonna try
I
to
get what
trade
you're
you.
So
You're trying to
get
trade him
what
just
you're
off his name.
the
And I'll
Oh,
just
CBA,
say
because
this-
it's
I'll just
Zion.
say
There's
this,
no
like, real
film
quick.
on the kid. The kid's been hurt.
the
I'll say
CBA
this
is
real
coming
quick
out, and
before the
CBA
last
is coming
time.
out too. That I think in a year or two, like baseball is dealing with the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna just piggyback this question real quick, and I'll let you go, Keem. My bad for kind of.
You're good, you're good.
It's important. It's important though for the topic. Do you think the new CBA for basketball, whenever it's up, they will do something about players demanding trades
Yeah.
that are signing max contracts or are rookie
Mhm.
deals? Do you think owners are going to ask for a clause that players can't request a trade
Yeah.
once they sign a deal for at
They
least a
have to.
season, or
I think-
something along the
Yeah.
line? Because I honestly, just me being realistic as a fan in general, I think it's getting out of control, and I think it's absurd that these players are signing big deals and then requesting
Okay.
trades.
Got you. That's a good question. I'll go real quick and then let somebody else go. I think they will. I think it will be kind of like they do in soccer,
Mhm.
where you have a transfer fee that teams play when a player decides that he wants to move on to another team or the team
Transfer
wants to
fees
do that.
expensive too. Jesus
So-
Christ.
I think you may see a percentage of which a player has to forego his contract in order for
That's a
him to
good
move
idea.
on if he wants to get bought out of.
That's a
trade.
good idea.
It may not be high. You may see something maybe between 5 to 10% at first, and it may get worse if the owners feel like they're not understanding that we're not playing. That
I would
we're
do it
going
worse.
to
It would be
forego.
higher. It should be higher in the first year of the signing. So, like, let's say they sign like a super max and then they request a trade the next season. The percentage should be insanely high, honestly, just for the point that they get rid of it,
I
like
get you.
25%, just to.
Damn, he's at 25. But I get what
But
you're
think
saying.
about it.
Though.
Look at Ben Simmons, bro. He signed a 5-year supermax
Yeah.
contract, and look, he requested trade. Not even season into it.
Ben Simmons, Paul George, Kawhi, Anthony Davis has done it. You got a bunch of players. Zion is trying to do that right now, so you got a bunch of players that's doing that.
Yeah, he needs
And
to build
then
it.
just because you said the contract thing, you said rookies. I think, and then Zion would be a different situation because he'd be the first player that has a rookie deal expire that he would forego being a unrestricted free agent and then try to leave his team that way. That hasn't happened before. He'd be the first player to refuse to sign with his team and then try to take a match offer seat from another team because a rookie hasn't done that. And then to go with what Ant said about he hasn't done anything. Well, when the Chicago Bulls drafted Michael Jordan, I ain't comparing him. They understood after his first 2 seasons, we better do something to get this team better. Zion is their Michael Jordan right now. There's not another player on that team that's as talented as him. It's like Soto just said. The man was averaging 27 points a game, shooting 50% from the field. He's the whole team. So if he's not playing, the Pelicans and Griffin don't got much leverage. If he says, get me out of here, then poor CJ going to be out here like, damn, I just came all the way for some gumbo and some po' boys. Basically.
Yeah, and the team is a little bit different from the last time he played, if you really think about it. They've made moves. He might not like them, but I think we could all agree that CJ pickup is a big move. That's a big move. So it's like, give it a try.
And he can play point Zion.
And it's CJ's first time by himself without having to deal with being Dame's sidekick.
It's a big move, but I love CJ. I love CJ, but he don't move that needle enough in the West.
Yep.
But you got Valanciunas. You got Valanciunas there. You got Ingram. You got pieces.
No, it's very like enticing.
And those are great sportsmanship awards. But the problem is that Zion wants to try to win a championship. He's not doing that.
But it's not going to happen.
He ain't going to get it in New York.
Yeah, winning cures everything. Winning cures everything. So what are they right now? 12th, 11th.
You look like, not to cut you off, Ant, like if you look at how quickly the Bulls closed that gap. You're not doing that in the West. The Bulls went from bottom of the East to now they're the top of the East in a season.
Bro, if Zion actually worked to get on the court, they're 11th right now. Even if he was back for after All-Star break and he started, 2 games ago, whatever, and finished the season with them, they made it to the play-in. That's good enough. Hey, you can see changes. Winning changes everything. He's mad because he came back from minute restrictions and they were losing, and he felt like they were losing because he was on minute restriction.
You're my guy. I love you.
Bro,
you're my guy.
You gotta give the team a chance.
I love you, Ant. You're my guy. But is Zion right now better than Damian Lillard?
No.
Okay, so if CJ couldn't win with Dame, how the hell is he going to win with Zion?
CJ couldn't win with Dame for different reasons.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about winning a championship.
I'm saying winning that changes. Duo was a better combination in theory. That was the Trailblazers banked their mortgage that the two of them was going to turn into the second coming of maybe Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars or Stephen Clay, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, but they didn't build anything else around them. You had nothing around them. At least in New Orleans, you've got Ingram, you've got Valanciunas, you got Herb Jones as a defender.
Did you say
like
Ingram?
So? You have some pieces.
I know you didn't just say Ingram. I know you didn't say Ingram. Ingram will shoot.
Look at his number scheme.
But Ingram
Don't
as
let your Lakers hate.
Option,
go to Ingram.
Consistent though, but he's
as a third option.
In the course of a series, he can get you 31 game and have like 4 points the next game.
But as a third option, I'd be okay with Ingram. And then you got Valanciunas as like a fourth option. That's pretty decent for the West. That's better than what Portland's throwing out there and they're in the 10 spot right now.
Yeah, and honestly, Pete, go ahead, finish. I was going to say the West, after the top 3-4 teams, the West gets real tight just like the East is. So it's like if he actually wanted to play, you know what I'm saying, and got freaking whatever, got through rehab and all that stuff, physical therapy, whatever he has to do, and they're fighting, for the bottom of the West, it's still a big step from where they were last year. You get what I'm saying?
You're right.
Like just the little bit of winning could start changing the way somebody thinks. You know that as a coach, bro. Come on.
You're
I see what you're saying.
If Zion were to,
in my not sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Like
I was just gonna say if Zion truly, was focused on New Orleans, it could work with the Pelicans. But his mentality is in New York, and with Barrett and Cam Reddish, and their best option to get Zion is through free agency, because you're not going to blow up that team for it to be Zion and Barrett, and then you just sign people off free agency. And so their best the next best option is through free agency. But yes, you guys are 100% correct. If Zion was truly focused on winning, it could work with the Pelicans, but that's not where his mindset is right now.
I think Zion got the right idea. I don't see it. Because
when does it get to sorry, go ahead, King.
Because this Pelicans team is not better than the Anthony Davis Pelican teams they built, and that team fell short. So to me, I feel
with Anthony Davis team though, the one with Cousins,
DeMarcus Cousins got hurt.
Okay.
This team is like basically at the point where it's like all it takes is one body person to get hurt and it's game over. And I don't think he wants to be in that situation where he's an injury away from my team is really good or is really bad. I love CJ. But in a Western Conference in a series against the teams they got to go against to try to be amongst the best right now, the elite. I'm not talking the middle of the pack. I mean the elite, the Suns, the Warriors. I'm not taking him looking across against Devin Booker, looking across against Klay Thompson. I ain't even going to touch that one. I'm not touching Ingram looking across somebody else that can play defense. I'm not doing that. At some point in time, I think Zion got the right mindset. Get the hell out of the Pelicans like everybody else does.
When is he going to be held accountable, though? Like, I mean, because it comes down to when is he going to be held accountable to get better and work on himself? Look at Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid comes in, he's hurt
a few years. Yep.
You draft Jahlil Okafor, who people said, oh, he's going to be the next center for the 76ers. Obviously, it didn't work out. Things went, a different direction. But Embiid could have quit and said, oh, I'm not going to work on my game. I want to go somewhere else. Like, he didn't do that. Like, Zion's got to step up and take responsibility for his conditioning, not just his weight, but his conditioning and mental focus as far as does he really want to play, or do you really want to only play under the situation that is advantageous to you? Like, it's not going to work because you're not going to New York, and you can end up in the same situation falling short. Is he going to sulk in New York and win out? Like, is this going to be like a James Harden where every time something doesn't go right, you bounce to another team? Like,
okay, Pete, I'm not going to let you do your Philly like that. All right. I ain't gonna let you.
I'm realistic like though.
Because New Orleans is not the same basketball culture as Philly. If Joel Embiid would get chewed up and spit out alive if he had the mindset of I'm up out of here, I don't want to do this no more, just like the Sixers fans did to Ben Simmons. So he can't move like that. New Orleans is a Saints town. Ain't nobody really care about the Pelicans. You can watch the games. Even when Anthony Davis was there, they were struggling to get a sold-out crowd. Nobody cares about the Pelicans in New Orleans. So he don't have the same pressure. Like, if he was in New York right now and he did this, we talk about it every day if he was on the Knicks. We don't talk about it because on the Pelicans because nobody really cares about the Pelicans. We care about Zion. That's the thing. So I think would be the difference. In another market, he's accountable because that's the type of fan base. When you're the New Orleans Zion, yeah, that's basically what the point is nobody cares because he is the Pelicans. Now, I know Soto wants us to move on to the next topic, but I just was playing devil's advocate here, saying I don't want to kill a 20-year-old because he likes to eat his Doritos. I mean, we've all been there at some point in our time.
He likes to eat some cakes and pies, and
we've all been at that
else.
point where we get up in the middle of the night and we eat something we ain't supposed to have.
Okay, yeah, some of us actually go work out after that.
Not everybody, because some people make them New Year's resolutions and keep that gym membership for a week. So there's a lot of Zions
you're right on that.
So we did biggest disappointment. So let's stay on let's go to a positive side and say biggest surprises. Who have you been y'all's biggest surprises to the midpoint of the season thus far? I don't have to call. Do I got to pick somebody like Class?
I've talked a ton, so I try to wait and let everybody else go first.
So nobody want to raise their hand?
Soto, go first. Soto been kind of quiet for a little bit because he wanted to move on. So go ahead, Soto.
I do a hand raising every day, so I'm good.
So, I had two teams in mind, but I'm just gonna stick to one. I'm not gonna go with the obvious one. I'm gonna pick the Boston Celtics, and the reason why I'm picking the Boston Celtics is
a surprise.
Yeah. Coming in not too long ago, they were just an afterthought, 500 team. Then they win. Then the last 23 games, they go 18-5. In those 18-5, in the midst of it, they pick up Derek White, someone who can give you 15 points per game, versatile combo guard. With that, they also drop Freedom, which was probably the best thing they did, and
He's
pick up
free?
Daniel Tice, who knows their system. So, and right now they're sitting, pretty close on top of the East, and the fact with this team, I feel like they're just one true playmaker, one true point guard away from title contention. But nobody was really rumbling about the Celtics, before the season, during the season. But it's just, the last 23 games, Tatum has been on a tear. And, it kind of seems like the Celtics have, regrouped. They're refocused now. And, they're one of the, top teams in the East right now. So to me, that's the surprise right now. I mean, I didn't go to, with the most obvious one, so I'll let somebody else do it. But yeah,
that's good.
Fucking Knicks lost again. God damn it.
What's new? That's not a surprise, Henry. We already did that segment.
Fucking blow the game in the fourth quarter.
It's the Harden effect.
Yeah, we're gonna win games when our guys play 35 plus minutes every game. Good job, Tibbs. Keep burning your players' kneecaps out, bro. Just keep doing it.
Whoa! That's your coach of the year right there. Don't disrespect.
I'll say this: Jericho Sims, 8 to 10 rebounds in 18 minutes is pretty good.
Yeah, no points though.
Yeah, he only took one shot.
No, he's not a scorer. All right, as a matter of fact, Henry, you got the mic because you said so much at Knicks. You came in hot anyway. So, what's your biggest surprise of the season?
I'd probably say, just because of the coach purposes, Dallas. How well they've been playing with Jason Kidd. I thought, like what Pete's been saying for a while, I thought that was going to be a complete disaster. I was surprised because I know Kidd's had his run-in with being a good coach for a little bit and then having a little bit of a downfall towards later on. So I'm surprised he's actually doing so well in his first season. It seems like Brunson's really come out and shine this year. Seems like Luka's pointing back to how he was before. He doesn't look like he's how everybody say he's out of shape. Like he was. I think at one point they say he was in about 260, which was nuts when I heard that. They moved Porzingis, which I really don't understand why, but I get it in a sense because if they lose Brunson, which I know he's going to get a lot of money, they're going to just fall back on Dinwiddie. So I get it in that sense. But I'm surprised how well they're playing and how well they're doing. They're definitely in the neck of the race for sure.
Gotcha.
And they're getting out of Bertans what they thought they were getting. He's been a sniper from three the last couple games. He had one game where he didn't shoot well, but the rest, like the other three, he's been pretty good for them.
Yep.
For me, I would say, which probably this might fall in the Soto's category as an obvious answer. I would say Cleveland. I mean, I expected them to be okay, like as in maybe playing contention okay. I didn't expect them to be. At one point, they were the 3 seed. Might have even been higher, but I remember them being a 3 seed for a little bit. Now they're the 4th. But just for them to be staying in that top 3, top 4 area the whole season, just like has me shocked. I'm like, wow, they're really hanging around, and they had some players in the All-Star during show out during All-Star weekend and stuff. But I think what it is like Henry said, you want to talk about coaches. Shout out to their coach. He's doing a great job with them. We have people, mention how a lot of black coaches or just, minority coaches kind of get these jobs that are kind of like a failure anyway. It's going to be a failure because you have either a super young team or like a team that's always in contention to tank. And Cleveland's kind of been that way since LeBron left the second time. And you got Kevin Love, which I brought up earlier. He's being one of those vets, leaders. He's in the guards' ear. He's in Mobley's ear. He's in Allen's ear. He's in everybody's ear, talking about what it takes to win, what it takes to be a contender and stuff. And they're still young, But just for them to be how young as they are and to be this good, they're basically in the spot where I thought maybe Charlotte would be this year. So they definitely took me by surprise, and they're gonna be a tough team in the playoffs. Even if they have a first round exit, they're still gonna be a tough team to play because with a young team on the road, I think they're 17 and 15, what you expect. But at home, they only have 6 losses, 7 losses.
Yeah, they have a nice
yeah,
young core.
they have a great home court record. So I'm like, oh, okay. And they're gonna have that advantage in the first round if they stay where they're at. So it's like, just keep an eye on Cleveland for the rest of the season because they're definitely not playing around. And I think it's a big shout out to the coaching staff and definitely K Love taking that role, which he probably learned from being with LeBron for those years.
Yep.
Got you. Good answer. That's a good answer. All right, what you got, Pete?
I'm going Memphis. I'm going to leave the obvious one for you. I think Memphis, basically top 8 in offense and defense. Obviously, we know John Morant and just his extension, pretty much for a good chunk of the season was in the MVP discussion. Obviously, that's tailored off a little bit, because other players obviously, gonna get it. But Morant, and then you got Desmond Bane shooting really well. He's looked great all season. Steven Adams even coming in and playing a role as far as a rebounder, just a rugged guy that can set screens, can pass out of those screens. Tyus Jones has looked really good off the bench as a backup point guard, secondary ball handler, decently shooting the 3 this year. So he's really improved there. Zaire Williams has been a staple in the rotation. He's looked really good, athletic, good defense. And then Jaren Jackson Jr., just his ability to block shots, needs to get in the post a little bit more, in my opinion, as another season or two goes, but is able to stretch the floor right now, and that's really helped them. They're firing on all cylinders. It looks like they're going to end up, holding on to the top 3 seed in the West, which is good for them because potentially right now they would get Denver in the first round, which with Denver's injuries, I could see Memphis moving on pretty easily, but
Gotcha. So Cleveland, you got Memphis. Henry said, who was it again? What was your surprise? Dallas. And then Soto is the one on here. Who Soto did you say?
Celtics.
Celtics, okay. That's what it was. I was throwing me off because you said the Celtics, so that's why it took me a second to remember that. Because you said the Celtics was one. Obviously, I left the obvious one for me. But before I get into that obvious choice, I'm not surprised by Dallas. I know at all. They got the reason why the Lakers won a championship on that sideline. If you really thought Vogel was coaching that team, somebody told you wrong. The person that was a big part of that Lakers championship, one was Lionel Hollins, who ain't there no more, and the other one was Jason Kidd. That's why since the two of them is gone, they look lost as hell. I thought that would be pretty obvious with the Lakers right now. But the biggest surprise, I know y'all said leave it for me, as some people would say, is the Chicago Bulls. It's a surprise because they're number 1 seed. So I have to err on a caution of saying it's a surprise because that's the segment we're up to is the biggest surprise. So for most people there's a surprise. It wasn't a surprise for me because I've always been a strong believer that if DeMar DeRozan had been in Cleveland when there was no LeBron James, that the Raptors would have still made it to the finals and had a chance to win the championship. But I think now back in the East, especially with the way they've changed the rules of officiating, it benefits a guy like DeMar DeRozan because the mid-range and going to the basket, that is his bread and butter. So a guy like him that relies on getting in that game, even when they have Levine, Levine's another guy that likes playing the mid-range. Lonzo likes to play in the mid-range. Caruso's another mid-range guy, and they play defense. This favors them. If you really think about when they have everybody there with their wing defenders, because you can't flop to draw a foul anymore, that allows Caruso and Lonzo to really play defense because there's no more throw my head back. There's no more leaning into me and flaring my arms to go to the free throw line anymore. So now you really have to get past those two guys, and they're really great on-ball defenders that can guard multiple positions.
No more LeBron?
I think the front office did a great job of bringing in pieces that fit around Billy Donovan and how he likes to coach with getting passing bigs and scoring bigs, and then multiple position wing players. So I think that team is just a fun team to watch and a really good team. I think they have a chance to make it to the conference finals if healthy. They get Lonzo back, they get Caruso back, they have a chance to get to the conference finals. And I think that's a team for seasons to come, as long as they're healthy, is going to be a problem in the Eastern Conference. That's not knocking anything from Miami. That's the #1 seed right now. But I think those teams are very similar in how play because they're built on defense. Now, the next topic I think I have left is championship favorites. Is there a particular team that anybody out of the group feels? Did you say school of a flopping? That's what we're doing on this one? Okay. Everybody want to take Laker jokes. I get it. It's Laker joke season.
Hey, I didn't have Laker jokes this episode, so I've been good about
I get it. No, I mean Henry's school of flopping. I didn't know he was the biggest flop in the NBA. I thought that was Harden over there. But all right.
No, it was LeBron before it was Harden.
All right. Now, we talked about disappointments and surprises. Now, we're entering where the real NBA season starts, which is the second half of the season, and again, it's playoff time. So, who do you guys have as your NBA championship matchup? Because the other matchups, when playoff time comes, we can talk about those. So, I'm gonna go right for the cream of the crop. Who do y'all think is gonna be in the NBA Finals this year, and who's gonna win? All right, we want to start that off. We got the Miners.
Wow, it's an interesting one there. I guess I'll start this time since I'm always quiet. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind starting. I think, honestly, if they can get on a run and everything gets better, I think in the West, I'd probably say Golden State, unless Chris Paul comes back, then Phoenix. That'll probably be one of those two. The East is more of a toss-up because I think everything's a little trickier there. But
matchup-based.
I'd probably draw between Philly because of the impact of Harden and Embiid. And this is a hard one because I'm tossed up between Miami and Chicago and Milwaukee. So I'm going to just go with Milwaukee just because they're the defending champs. So it'd be those two. Between those two. And I'd probably go Milwaukee, and I'd like to see a Milwaukee-Phoenix rematch, to be honest with you, because I think that was a good rematch last year. And if I could pick one dark horse team, I guess, to sort of make a run, I don't know if they'll go to the finals per se. I'd probably say Cleveland because they're a young team.
What?
Cleveland.
Soto almost died over there. His soul left.
Actually, no, don't do that because
he said dark horse. So I'll give
dark horse.
Oh, okay, all right.
I said dark horse. I said dark horse. I did say dark horse.
All right, cool.
Soto wanted to smoke on a Sunday.
Dark horse for the East would be Cleveland, and dark horse for the West would be probably Memphis. And I say dark horse, I mean dark horse.
Okay.
So
I don't think Memphis would be a dark horse. I feel like they're legitimate.
I put them as dark horse just because of how well Golden State and Phoenix have been playing. That's why I had Golden State, Phoenix. And then for the East is a little bit more of a toss-up. Obviously, we got the Miamis, the Chicagos, Philly, and the Bucks. So that's a little hard. But I think the Bucks will turn it on during the playoff season for sure.
I have to see what Golden State gets out of a healthy Draymond first.
They also have Wiseman coming back soon too. He started.
I don't count on Wiseman as much as what Draymond does. Not that he's bad.
No.
Just not counting on him like I would Draymond, because Draymond sets up so much of the offense. If Draymond doesn't come back fully healthy, I find it hard to see that Golden State would even get past Memphis in a 2-3 matchup. But I mean,
that's tough.
It's just going to be tough because you're relying on Clay to say, all right, can you stay healthy throughout and play top tier defense? Can you rely on Draymond to, do well as
Coach Norm Fisher? I wish the Knicks and the Lakers were dark horses, but I'm just going to be honest with the Knicks.
I would say out of the West, for me, it's going to be Phoenix unless somehow Chris Paul just doesn't come back and look like Chris Paul. The East, I'm a homer, so I'm going with my Sixers. But if somehow, some way the Sixers get matched up
You said
badly,
Homer.
then
Nah.
Yo,
You're
these
supposed to say
comments.
Hawks. You said
Yo,
Homer.
bro.
You're supposed to say Hawks.
oh man,
Yo, have
no.
any of you guys seen the
No.
comments, man? These comments are hilarious that Coach Norman Fisher put.
I
I don't know if he called Dr. Phil, but damn.
hit me.
Oh my god.
That's all right. Hey, I can take it in stride though, so I'm good. It's all
Oh my
good.
god, this shit is funny.
But I don't know. The East is just going to be all defensive because, like, you look at Milwaukee, they've got to get Brooke Lopez back as far as like a defensive big to help.
Right.
You've got to have health across the board with Holiday, as well, and then Connaughton. Looking at
Ooh,
Brooklyn,
shot
obviously
fired.
same thing. I saw Sixers ain't going to make the finals. We'll see. So he's a Knicks fan, right?
Yeah.
So let me know when the Knicks make the playoffs again.
Not in my life.
It could be another decade or two. It's all right though. It's okay. I'll hate on Philly, but when they may not get to the finals, but at least we make the playoffs here. So, but looking at Milwaukee, I mean, like Henry said, they could be a favorite, but I'm going to say Philly. My second choice would be somehow, some way, Miami. I'll push through, but I don't see them beating Philly personally, but just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that. Honestly, funny enough, I'm surprised none of us picked Miami as a surprise team because how they went from the championship, losing in the finals to the Lakers in the bubble, to the mediocre year last year, then to right back to the top seed this year, kind of just shows you. But injuries plays a part. And their team is like fully constructed, like from top to bottom. That roster, you're like, oh, that's straight Eric Spoelstra the whole way. Like that's straight the players he needs to run, his system. Shout out to them. But honestly, at the same time, I feel like teams aren't really scared of Miami like that. Like, yes, they just happen to stumble into the number one seed at the moment, but it's going to be between them, Chicago, and Philly fighting for that top seed. So that's when, like Pete and I think Henry said it too, that's when seeding is going to matter, and the matchups are going to matter, because don't sleep on that middle of the conference either. Like those teams are still at the moment Milwaukee's 5, so but they're the defending champs. I don't see Milwaukee coming out the East because championship hangover is a thing. I just see that happening. I think the reason why is because we don't really know if they're gonna get Lopez back. Ibaka was a good pickup, but I just don't. He's not Ibaka from OKC, so it's just like I don't really know if he's gonna really be the pickup they needed. So coming out the East,
True.
You have to go with Philly. At the end of the day, Embiid's the most dominant big man in the league, and it's just like he's definitely the best big man in the freaking East. So it's like, what are they gonna do to stop him? Like if Harden can fully accept taking that seat back and just letting Embiid eat and just take him to the finals, there's no reason for them not to come out the East. With the West, Phoenix getting the taste and being up and then folding, which I don't feel like anybody talks about that enough. I feel like they just on that revenge tour. So I got Philly versus Phoenix, and Phoenix winning because obviously they're going for their revenge, and Chris Paul finally gets a ring, which he deserves, and then they ain't no more talk about point guards because he will be the point guard, which he already is. But that ring these days, that ring only matters to people. So
are we putting him over Magic Johnson? We ain't doing that, are we? We're not putting Chris Paul over Magic Johnson all time.
All time, no, but at least he's in the convo. At least he's in the convo. Like, bro, what he did for as long as he's been. What's it been now for him?
Oh, I'm not hating on Chris Paul. I just can't put him over Magic.
No,
understandable, but yeah. So those are the two teams I got. But the West is easier because it's either the one or the 2 seed. It's either Golden State or freaking Phoenix. But the East is such a toss up. But that's why I just went with all right. Who has the most dominant player in the East? And it's Philly, unfortunately.
Doc Rivers will find some way. That's one thing I worry about. Doc
to
Rivers
fumble the bag.
all sub freaking lineup. Like, how are you gonna put in? Let's put in Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz and Millsap and let's put Danny Green in here.
Doc Rivers goes up 2-0 in the series. That's when y'all get nervous.
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes it can be 3-0.
Here's just a quick question.
Dude, I know, right? Sometimes it can be 3-0, but
Is he going to fumble the bag more than Dennis Schroeder did, or not?
Oh, come on.
He's already done that with when they had the Clippers before that. Like, he's fumbled the bag multiple times with multiple teams.
That's true.
So have you gone yet?
I think Milwaukee is coming out the East, and said he's going with the most dominant player in the East, which was what, Embiid. I'm going with the most, I think, with the team that has the most depth, and that's Milwaukee. And they basically kept almost the same core as last year as their championship conversation. Championship team. So yeah, in the East, it's definitely Milwaukee. If I had to pick a second team in the East, if fully healthy in time for playoffs and everything, Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls. Yeah. So out of the West, again, I know, Keem, you talked about Chris Paul and his injury, and that's something that kind of worries me. Like, will that play into effect? Which is why I'm picking Golden State. Again, I'm going with teams that have the best depth in the NBA. And then second team behind that would be Phoenix, because like you all said, like they're on still salty about last year. They're on this revenge tour, and CP3's hungry for that championship ring. If he's back fully healthy, I don't see
he should.
The only team that can give them a run for their money is Golden State, which would probably go to like a 7-game series. But yeah, CP3 is the point guard. So if fully healthy, it's going to be Phoenix. But if there's some injury, still some injuries concerns, it's going to be Golden State.
Got you.
Oh yeah, there's a comment that says CP3.
You guys are way too young sitting there. Like, did you guys not watch Magic Johnson play?
I didn't say anything.
He said, what conversation is that?
All right. I guess what should we put it this way?
Pete, he told you to stay off the weeds.
This generation greatest point guard. Like, I don't understand. No, they all. I mean, I think I'm the oldest out of the group besides next to you, Pete. Oh no, Henry might be older, but it's just like they're still in their Soto and Keem still in their 20s, bro. Like, no, they weren't even born yet.
But you still can watch. You can watch.
I mean, you can watch highlights, and of course,
I guess it's not the same.
It's not as watching highlights or whatever clips on YouTube is not the same as actually watching it. Just like
I got you.
When we're older and people are talking about, was LeBron really that real? They'll be like, yeah, we've seen it live, but you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
going by clips and highlights.
I'd say Chris Paul's impact on the game is the closest we've seen to Magic Johnson's impact on the game.
Fully agree. 100% agree.
And I never said he was better. I said he's up there. So tell Pops, chill out over there. Don't get the panties in a bunch.
Close.
So crazy.
I feel like I got hit with that LeBron versus MJ debate.
Legit.
That's how strong that take of CP3 was. I mean, it's all good. Like, everybody has their opinion.
I mean, this is valid too. Age is not an excuse for not knowing history. I watched Russell on an 8mm film as a kid.
Yeah. I just feel like Magic.
I used to see Bob Cousy play. Like,
that's old.
Yeah,
I wasn't around watching Jerry West. Come on, dog.
That's old.
Shit, Bob Cousy played before any of us, bro.
But I get
before our parents.
I know. I get what he's saying about what him and because him and Pete are basically saying the same thing, but
that would actually be a good, because we all have such age differences. I think that might be a good podcast at some point. It doesn't have to be like right now, but just like give your top 10 all time.
Oh god.
Or something like that. Like something that because then it sparks discussion of what everybody, and it can only be.
I was waiting for somebody to say nope.
But it can only consist of players you've actually personally watched. Like, you can't say, "Oh, I put I put Wilt Chamberlain. Like none of us saw Wilt Chamberlain. Like so,
no.
like it has to be only
we've
players
seen him
that
play in
you
2K, and he's a beast. But none of us seen him
seen.
play. No, I
Right,
wouldn't. It's like that's like me
Oh,
putting
for real.
Walt Frazier. I didn't see Walt Frazier play.
right.
I can't do that. I saw Patrick Ewing play, but I didn't see Walt Frazier play. I didn't see none of the great Knicks play, so I can't say those are on my top things.
Top
Even though
10
they're
Knicks
top
all time.
players. They're top players all time, but did I see them? Did I watch them? No.
No.
Oh man, that comment that's killed.
Oh shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I seen that comment.
For real.
Pew pew.
All right.
Shit.
I didn't even name my finals matchup. Y'all all
Yeah,
said
what
pretty
you
much
got?
said the same thing. I said Phoenix.
Out the West, yeah.
I know.
It's easy out the West.
Hold on, I'm gonna wait for this one. Hold on.
The Lakers in there?
Of course, yeah, next year, and next season, and maybe
If Westbrook's still on the team, keep dreaming.
next season, maybe.
Westbrook.
This year is Phoenix. Well, I mean, this Phoenix, they're playing like a team you expect that just went to the finals. They're upset. They feel that they should have won. They're
They know
playing
what it
like
takes
that.
to get there. Yep.
So I get that. East, excuse me. East is a little, there's like a, got to figure that out. But I think if I had to pick a team on top of my head, I would say the 76ers. Same reason y'all been saying them. Because I don't think in a playoff series, there's a team that has enough defensive firepower to stop the combination of Harden and Embiid. Offensively, yeah, you would have said the Nets would have challenged them offensively with that three. But defensively, I don't think there's a team in the East that in a 7-game series has enough defense to stop that combination. Because Drew Holiday cannot guard both Embiid and James Harden at the same time. And they don't have a big to put on Embiid. They could put Drew Holiday on James Harden, but they don't have a big to guard Joel Embiid.
Well, ain't that when Giannis supposed to come into the picture?
Yeah, like I was saying, you don't got on Joel Embiid. And the Miami Heat thrive best playing small. So you're pretty
Right.
much asking Bam to do that for a whole season. And we saw him doing that against Anthony Davis. That didn't work. And I think right now Embiid is playing better basketball than Anthony Davis is right now. So, yeah. And then the Bulls, the same concept. You're asking Vucevic to do it. I mean, you could try to, but at some point in time, I think we're going to have to call the police because that's just going to be a watching a crime because he's not strong enough. He's not fast enough. Yeah, you're just not going to ask him to do that. Harden is a little different because if they have Caruso and Lonzo healthy, they have two guys they can throw on him to try to slow him down, but they just don't have nobody to guard Embiid. So it's like y'all been saying, there's nobody to guard Embiid. That's basically the X factor there. The Doc Rivers effect. I mean, he gonna have to use this Boston Celtic magic and make sure that at all possibilities he gets this team in a position to win a championship. Because with this roster, if he falls short, he may not
He's
have
out
a
of there.
lot of excuses unless they just say, "Oh yeah, it's Tobias," and then Tobias gets traded, and then they try to run it back with him as the coach with no Tobias. Maybe.
So I wonder who would be the coach of the 76ers if Doc Rivers ever gets let go.
Mike D'Antoni.
Yep. I was waiting for you to
Yo, wow.
Well,
We're gonna have a full-fledged
what I
reunion
will
show?
say,
washed up.
what I will say is that in the East, it's just gonna be really funny to see how the seeding plays out. Because even me, as a Boston fan right now, was like, bro, they got to find a way to try to work their way up.
You better get past Milwaukee so you get Cleveland.
Yeah,
not
because
Philly.
no matter where they're at, it's like, yeah, you don't want to see Milwaukee again. They don't see Milwaukee every freaking year. So it's like, all right, cool. Try to get that 4 or 5 matchup, which at the end of right now, Cleveland's number 4. Or so cool. Then you get out the first round. But then it's like, none of us talked about Brooklyn. Like KD's not gone for the rest of the season. He back next week.
Yeah,
That's
You
what
see
I was
what
gonna
KD
ask.
does. So it's like,
how
Brooklyn's
Yeah,
probably
how
I think
much
the
of an
key for that is
impact
Ben
if
Simmons. Like,
yeah if the mandate
play.
comes off for
oh,
Kyrie.
well,
Yep.
Mayor Adams is hoping he's able to. He hasn't really set a deadline and will he do it. He's optimistic that New
in
York
March he's going to do it. You said March.
goes that direction.
But by playoff time, just say by playoff time, and they get a series to where, say they are in the play-in and they
Okay.
get through that, and then they lock in. Say they're playing. Could they beat Miami at full strength with if Simmons does play, if Kyrie's there and KD's healthy? Could they beat Miami? Could they beat Chicago? Like they're probably going to be their matchups, either Chicago or Miami,
Okay.
if they stick at the A seed.
To me, the thing with the Nets is in the playoffs, you gotta, especially when you're dealing with a team that's never been there. The road games are usually the hard games for them. So usually, if you said if they, let's say hypothetically, the Bulls hold on to that number one seed, they say if they reclaim it from the Heat and hold on to it at number one, the advantage you would say, okay, if they got to play the Nets, can those young players that's never been in the playoffs before play a road game
Yeah, but you're
against
right.
the Nets?
Right.
I would
This is
say
a
the
good record.
Nets had fans. But the problem is the Nets don't have fans. Like nobody
No, you're
goes
right.
to watch the Nets. So basically a home game for the Nets is like
It's
a
like a
road
neutral.
game
It's like playing on a
it's,
neutral
yeah,
site in
it's a neutral
college.
site.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
fans there for them. So we're gonna wait. Like the Nets fans are fair weather fans. They don't get excited unless the team is winning the game. So, and that's the other thing. If Ben Simmons is not performing well, how long does it take the petty New York fan base to start trolling the fact that he's not playing well?
Right.
So that's another thing I worry about. And then how long can Kyrie and KD function if Kyrie can't play? Let's say the rule doesn't change and Kyrie can't play in away games and KD gets 40 at home on the road, hypothetically, or he gets it at home when Kyrie can't play. And it's like, oh, damn, now I got to go back and get 50 to close out this series because Kyrie can't play at home games. They can win a game 5 thinking, okay, we got it in the bag, game 6, lose it. And because they don't have home court advantage, now they got to go play game 7 because he can't play in home games. So I think that element of him not playing in home games is going to hurt them in the playoffs, especially when you got Ben Simmons, who you don't know what Ben Simmons you get. And if this back is really an issue, and for a guy that relies on athleticism, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
That was a good question, but I just think like the reason why I'm not sleeping on the Nets. I'm just like they got a circumstance where it's like if Kyrie can't play in home games, they gonna lose in the first round anyway.
Well, not only that, just New York in general. Like,
They have to overcome so many obstacles,
coach,
and
coach made a
those
good point.
obstacles are
I
their very
was
own.
gonna say Brooklyn as my most disappointed team because it's like, bro, what happened to Scary Hours? What happened to all this stuff? And like they self-destructed from within, literally. Kyrie fighting with the owner
Right.
about the
No,
whole
it's-
vaccine thing. You know what I mean? And then
That's why I did
Harden-
pick Brooklyn.
yeah,
know,
you
Durant
did
with his
obviously, but
injury.
yeah,
Kyrie with his COVID situation, Harden with everything. Well, Harden was dreaming about Philly this whole season.
yeah,
Um,
of course.
and then
Because
shortly
he
after
want to be a
that,
part-time rapper. He want to be with Meek Mill in the studio.
they went on a 9-game losing streak, and
Hey.
And good point too. I don't know if New York will get rid of that mandate just because of the amount of lawsuits they're going to get for those people that they fired out there. So that could be another sticking
Yeah.
point for them keeping it because
Hey, honestly,
New York's about to
there's a
keep that.
chance Kyrie plays in the playoffs. It all depends how far they get. Can they get out the first round without Kyrie? Again, comes down to matchups. But the way it seems like it's going from state to state, it's going to be similar to last year. Once it's spring, they loosen up the mandate a little bit. Then it's summer, the mandate's gone. You get what I'm saying? And the way basketball goes, it runs through June. So it's like by then he might be able to see some daylight. But who knows? That's why the matchup, that's why the East is so wide open, because it's all about matchups. It's all about matchups. And I honestly don't think Brooklyn's really scared of anybody ahead of them, believe it or not. Like with Kyrie, without Kyrie, though, I don't think like the way KD's thinking, I don't think as long as he has a decent, like a not decent, but like a somewhat healthy Ben Simmons, like him and Patty Mills got chemistry because obviously Harden's been hurt, Kyrie wasn't there. Like him and the role players have chemistry where I feel like he can probably somehow steal one, on the road. And then, that's the most important thing about playoff series is getting that one on the road, and then everything's fine. That's why I'm like, are the top 2 seeds in the East, are they really scaring anybody? That's why I feel like Milwaukee's okay where they're at and stay in the flow because they're like, yo, we know what to do when it comes down to playoff time. That's why, we all made choices, but I feel like we just made, we all made our picks just because for the sake of the podcast, but we all know it's really that wide open. Like the East playoffs this year is going to be way more fun to watch.
Well, I don't trust the Nets because it's Steve Nash. I don't know how far you're going to get. I don't know how far you're going to get with a Popeyes man to coaching your NBA basketball team.
You've been on that coaching choice since they made the coaching choice.
Like, is he really coaching or is he babysitting at this point? Like, is it coaching the
It
game?
felt it felt like babysitting for a
'Cause
little
they
bit.
got the man out here looking dumb. So, but we ain't gonna change James Harden. 2 days later, he's gone. Like at some point in time, somebody I don't think he knows what's going on with his own team.
No, I think that came from management, though. Keep your mouth shut. Like
Yeah.
lie if you have to,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I understand.
Because he's actually pretty blunt and honest. So I
You
think
know,
that came from the top.
I only said that because James hit him up and told him I'm not coming to Miami on Saturday. So that's why I'm like he's
Because you want to know why? Because rumor has it he was in Houston, just letting the whole thing play out because he knew where he was going to end up. So
Right.
that's why he didn't get to Philly till Saturday morning. He said he was in Houston, and then Friday was when that ice storm hit the whole damn East Coast and then moved down south. So he couldn't get a flight.
So that's the only reason why I said that. Because that man just be looking lost sometimes the way they keep sending him up for failure. But you're right. It does come with the matchups in the East. And you do have, I mean, the Heat, I think, are a little bit more proven than, say, the Bulls. But
yeah, for sure.
I get the point that y'all are getting at. And the East don't only have that problem. All right. So since we're concluding this episode, I always ask if anybody has any closing thoughts. Doesn't have to be basketball related at all. Just anything that's on your mind at this point in time.
Change the dunk contest.
Change it? Okay.
Yeah, change the way it is. Because the real athletes that we actually want, and they don't even want to do it because they're worried about the judging.
Gotcha.
So it's like, and there's dunkers in the world. You can go on YouTube and see some crazy dunks. Like there's real dunkers out there. ESPN was like, I think it was Stephen A. and Isaiah Thomas. They were like, do a thing where like, I don't know, you pick 2 teams from the East and 2 teams for the West, where they legit sponsor, I guess, 3 to 4, I guess street hoopers, street ballers that have bounce, and then just have them compete for the dunk contest, and whoever wins, they either they get the money or the money goes to charity, which seems like the main thing to do these days. So just something different, because the NBA plays doing the dunk contest has not been it, not just this year, but for the past few years. I mean, Gordon and Levine saved it for 2-3 years, but after that, it went right back to being like, let's be honest, 3-point contest is the best part, besides the game itself.
And they got the best 3-point shooters. So I get what you're saying. I got a way you can solve the dunk contest. I got it covered right now.
Let's hear it then.
No cap.
Let's hear it.
That's all it is. All right. Since these players struggle to dunk on 10 feet, let's lower it to 6. No problem solved. Then they can do it on the first attempt. Then that way,
my guy Soto the dunk contest.
Then that way, the dunk they were trying to do, they can actually do it on the first try. Problem solved.
Soto's creative. Soto will have a cheeseburger,
take a bite,
and dunk it.
I think that'd be the best bet because they keep missing on 10 feet. It's lowered it to 6, and then we got a dunk contest ready to go.
They gotta be some.
And you got Jalen Green saying, "I want to come back." No, dude, you got to stay home.
So wait, this is the closing thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have a new level of appreciation for DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
I respect that.
You
So
know,
you mean all those years y'all was trolling me for supporting DeMar DeRozan?
Nah, I mean,
Fisher Price
he was a former Spur. He didn't play like that with the Spurs, but it's all right. Just the fact that in today's game, it's all about these half court shots, but he's keeping the mid range alive.
Mid-range game alive for
Yeah.
real.
So not only that, with the injuries to Levine with Lonzo and with Caruso, he's like legit carried that Bulls team throughout that stretch. So
Patrick Williams is the other person. Sorry for you. That's the other person that's hurt.
Oh yeah, Patrick Williams. Yeah. So
he's been hurt all year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They've just been they have an injury bug right now, but not DeRozan. He's just been killing it. Whether it's game-winning shots, or scoring. What was it, like 30?
Fourth quarter scoring in general. Him and Levine are the highest scoring backcourt this season.
Yeah,
by like a landslide.
Averaging 35 points when shooting 50% from the field.
And so shame on me. No, I definitely recognize DeMar DeRozan, but it's just there's a new level of appreciation.
He was
for
on your
him.
Spurs, Soto. He was on your Spurs. He's supposed to have that appreciation.
I did, but the team didn't go anyway, so it's like
I'll pick it back off what Soto said too after.
I get you.
Yeah.
for me, I agree with Soto. Yeah, he's having a great year. I did read an article recently, came out. I'm not sure if it was a Knicks beat writer or just an NBA writer in general.
Mhm.
He was talking about the Knicks struggles. We know they're struggling. We know they're losing a lot. And not only being on Tom Thibodeau, which is true.
Nice.
So I know here's my point.
It's not
There's
you
always-
with Soto, funny yet.
So
It's
my
not
thing
you
was-
with Soto.
So my point is, I think some of the blame also needs to be put on Leon Rose because something in the offseason happened where DeMar DeRozan actually was heavily considering the Knicks, and Scott Perry actually told Leon Rose, I want to take a second look at him. I want to sign him to the team. And Leon Rose said, no, he's old. He's going to be in the decline of his career, and let's not do that. So I think shame on him for doing that too, and not having appreciation for a player that actually could have helped your team. So yeah,
Not
so
on that team though. Like not with Randall. That wouldn't have fit. That would have
they
been
were but that was before the Randall deal too. Before they were signed him, they actually were going to keep.
Oh, okay.
They were going to bring DeRozan in, and they were going to let Randall go.
I see. Okay, that makes
so.
better
They said Scott Perry actually was against re-signing Randall to the deal, and he wanted the Knicks to take a second look at DeMar DeRozan, and Leon Rose overrid him in both things. So I think just instead of me just being hard on Tibbs, I think some of the blame also needs to be on Leon Rose, and he needs to take some accountability and explain what his moves and what's his logic to what he's trying to do for the future.
I got you. What? We know you in the PA area, so what you gonna have to do? Is get yourself a Philly cheese, you know what I'm saying, a soda, and you can snack and drink on that, so that this pain of the Knicks don't hurt you as much, bro.
That's even colder
like that
since they lost to the Sixers
that
today.
sound like that hurt. When you
Doesn't
just
matter.
said,
Knicks
said about Rose, that sound like that was hurting you. Like, damn, we could have had DeMar, so we got Julius.
Oh no, I was pretty pissed about that. I'm not gonna lie to you.
So Henry, is it still Knicks in 6?
No,
He had to send those t-shirts. He had to send those t-shirts to the Philippines.
It's Knicks in the offseason. How about that? There we go. Knicks ain't making it. So, anyways,
what you got, Pete, for your closing thoughts?
So Markelle Fultz is
yeah.
back healthy. He debuts tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. People can clown on him all they want, but that was a serious shoulder injury. It's not like, he just didn't want to play. Then he gets the ACL, and obviously we know what that can do to guards. From what I've seen, little snippet videos, and from what I've read, he's got his shot back that he had at Washington, like form-wise and just consistency. It's going to be scary if he can come in and be an impact player. The only thing I worry about for Orlando is now they've got too many guards, because you've got Suggs at the 2, and now he's got to split time with Cole Anthony, who's looked good this year and taken a leap forward. How's that rotation going to play out? It's going to kind of be one of those things with Sacramento where one of those guys is going to get moved at some point. Like, which one's it going to be?
Yeah.
But I'm happy to see the news that Markelle Fultz is coming back, so I'll be watching that tomorrow.
That's why I thought they was going to take a shooting guard, not a point guard. But bad teams.
That's
bad decisions.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna crazy as a coach, though, to be honest.
Praying for Westbrook.
At this point, I just want the Lakers to pack up this season. If they could not play the rest of the games, that would be great. At this point, I know they can't catch Houston got the worst record with 13 wins, something crazy like that. I know they're not catching them for a lottery pick, so that's the slope for that. So what can you do something at this point? Because LeBron is just wasting his season. I'm serious. I'll take anybody for Russ. Mikey Williams, Bronny James, anybody in the state of California.
Mikey Williams.
Up for the Lakers. Can you come play? Anybody. I'll take Magic Johnson at this point. Somebody.
Bro, when is none gonna play?
He's not playing. He's not
playing this year.
He's done.
Bro,
the Lakers don't got him
I thought
on
it went from a bruised knee to like what, bro?
He has a bone bruise. That's
bone
what they said.
bruise. Damn.
So he's
I feel like that's part of the downfall though, because it's like y'all want to sit Westbrook, y'all do sit Westbrook, but then
we don't have Kendrick Nunn,
yeah. So who's your guard?
Should have kept Caruso at this point, right? That would have been
Exactly.
anything would have been an
Should've.
option.
Yeah.
What's up with
an ability to make a layup would have been a better option.
not playing Austin Reeves more, like just as an option at the 2?
He's definitely becoming a fan favorite, just like
I
Caruso did
don't
when he was over
understand
there.
half the coaching decisions that Vogel makes. Okay, I'm not saying I'm a basketball savant, but sometimes I look at the game. I don't even know what team he's looking at.
Well,
Right?
I have a
Okay,
quick
because he
question.
puts DeAndre Jordan, Dwight Howard in the game sometimes. Like he actually thinks they're going to do something. I don't know what
I have a
Vegas
quick
is
question,
doing.
Keen. Because I know, like, this season you've been critical of Vogel, and you just mentioned about his lineup changes and whatnot. Let's say he does, get fired or whatever the reason may be. Who would you want coaching that Lakers team next season?
Oh, I'll tell you, ain't Fizdale.
Good
I'll tell you that much. So I'm gonna throw that out there right now. I don't want Fizdale as the coach. Anybody thinking that the Lakers should fire and hire him for what? Did you see what he did with Memphis and the Knicks?
Yeah.
I don't want that as an option. Yeah, LeBron would be a great coach right now because he knows what he's doing to a certain degree. I think they should have pushed harder at all seriousness. To begin with, I think they should have pushed harder to get Tyronn Lue in the first place, but they went with Vogel. They let Tyronn Lue took his job. Shout out to him. He got that job. He's done a good job with that team there. If you were going to make any change, I would have rather them fire Vogel and made Jason Kidd the coach. Yeah, he did. Rob Pelinka did make a bad decision. He should have traded John Wall, but he kept it for a draft pick of an 8th grader. You're right. That's why LeBron is low-key upset. Rob Pelinka holds some responsibility too. This is his team. He constructed it. As much as people don't like Magic because they said he quit on the Lakers, but that was the team he assembled that won a championship.
Right.
That team that won a championship was a team that Magic Johnson put together. So, in a way, he's the reason why they won a championship. The teams that Rob Pelinka has built has been these last 2 seasons, and you've seen how the seasons have gone for the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't.
The Rambuses. I think it's more the Rambuses than it's Pelinka. I think they have so much power. I forgot the wife's name. Is it Linda?
I think so.
Something like that.
I'm not sure.
And Jeannie Buss's ear so much because they're friends that they do so much together that so much power is given to Kurt Rambis. And I mean, I just go back to how crappy of a coach he was in Minnesota and just decisions then. Like, why would you have him as part of your brain trust? I don't get it, but I don't think it all falls on Pelinka because I think his hands are tied.
I say
honestly.
Pelinka because he got the title. I mean, sometimes you're gonna take the criticism. You got the title that comes with the job description that you have. But I'm getting upset. I want to talk about the Lakers no more. I don't want to talk about the Lakers. I'm getting upset because I got to hear bums like Cameron Payne talk about the Lakers. Like, bro, no, let me not, bro, because he acting like he that irrelevant to the Phoenix Suns. Let me stop. Like, bro, let me stop it.
Lakers.
Well, he is. He
He's a
would be
viable piece off
right
the bench.
now, especially with Chris Paul hurt, but he hurt too. So
I mean it in the sense that he need to be talking trash to LeBron James. I mean it from that respect. Okay, he should never be talking trash. It's like LeBron said, you was once at home. Okay,
that was disrespectful.
Yeah, you're right.
Your start. Okay,
Yeah,
you was crying for an NBA contract. You did not have that same mindset. All right. When he was like, the league is doing me dirty, I can't get on a roster. Now all of a sudden,
that's because he sucked for a while.
He's still sucky.
He's an average NBA guard.
He went overseas and got better. That just shows you what playing overseas can do for you, and how the game overseas is better than over here in the States.
Maybe the Lakers should reunite Payne and Westbrook.
Yeah,
I mean, he did play well as his
cut
backup. He did, though. I ain't gonna lie. He played well as Russell's backup. That's what he.
You mean his dance partner? Their warm up routine was lit. I used to watch the OKC one all the time.
Well, maybe Russell needs his favorite hype man back. He needs something because he's not playing like the normal Russ.
Yeah, right? he probably missed KD now.
He don't miss KD now. I don't know who he's missing. Yeah, he don't got the LA and got comfortable. He don't care about basketball no more.
Yeah, going home ain't always what is made out to be.
But that brings us to the end of this episode because I mean I ain't trying to hear no more Laker troll slander, and I don't want to talk. It's not good for my health right now.
You don't want the Alfred Payton, Russell Westbrook floor spacing?
Say what now?
Oh.
I mean, Alfred Payton might actually shoot the ball and hit the rim sometimes. So I mean, I'll take that over
Mhm.
Russell right now.
He gonna
How you
break
shoot
it.
an airball? How do you airball a bank shot? That's a real question I want to answer. How does one airball a bank shot? That
He
don't
needs
make no-
LASIK.
that don't make no damn sense. He out here airballing a bank shot. The hell? Let's see. Let me stop. All right, I don't want to be disrespectful to Russell. He's a hard player. He plays hard, all of that good stuff, and I'm slandering him for no reason. All right. But that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Like always, if you joined late, you can catch the video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel, Sounds of the Hardwood Podcast. If you prefer to listen to our audio version of our podcast, we're on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Like always, catch you on the next one. We out.